Welcome to the Mesquamaket Beach Podcast, a podcast spotlighting the businesses, newsmakers, events, and memories of Rhode Island's historic Mesquamaket Beach.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Mesquamaket Beach Podcast. My name is Ben Barber. I'm your host and one of the producers of the show. Today, we have a very special guest all the way from Oregon, John Batdorf, who is a musician and prolific songwriter. You may know him from the hits Wham Bam and Somewhere in the Night with his group Silver and Batdorf and Rodney. Wham Bam was actually in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So it's from the 70s, but it's still got a life. And it's a wonderful song. Not only that, but he has a ton of new music. He has written more new music in the last few years and recorded them, and they all sound as amazing as ever. So check that out on Spotify and at johnbatdorfmusic.com. He also tells a really inspirational story about halfway through the show, and he has some great tips for singers at the end. So just a fantastic interview, and I'm going to keep this pretty short because it's such a wonderful interview, and I just want to get to it. I recommend everybody check out John Batdorf when he comes to Tunes on the Dunes, July 30th at 6 p.m. with special guest Allison Flower. Definitely check that out and enjoy the interview. All right, so I'm here with John Batdorf. How are you today, John?
I'm great, thank you, Ben.
Thank you. You are the furthest away interview that I've ever done.
Yeah, can't go too much farther. We'd be out in the ocean.
Exactly. Yeah, you beat out Joey Molland. He was in Minnesota when I talked to him.
Oh, I beat him by a mile, or actually about 2,000 miles.
Yeah, at least by two time zones, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
So, you have a wonderful career in music that I'd love to talk about that is still going, and you're also going to be playing at Mesquamaket Beach for Tunes on the Dunes Monday, July 30th at 6 p.m. with Allison Flower.
Yes.
So we're very excited for that. Thank you for coming and traveling all this way to make that gig. We're really excited about it, and I think it's going to be a great show.
Well, thanks. I'm really looking forward to it. It's I go to the East Coast so much more than probably any place else, and I think it has a lot to do with back in the Batdorf and Rodney days in the 70s. We spent so much time on the East Coast because we just our music just really kind of worked back there, and there's a lot of great places to play, and still are on the East Coast, opposed to many other regions of the United States. So I'm happy to come back. That's
fantastic. So for those who don't know, you had two wildly successful hits with different groups, which is impressive. Not a ton of people can say that. So you're probably most well known for. Would you say you're most well known for Wham Bam?
I would think that Wham Bam, I believe, was the biggest commercial success that I ever had with the band Silver. In 1976 was a band that I put together right after the Batdorf and Rodney thing was over with, and it was a big hit. I mean, number 16 in the nation is not too bad.
Yeah, no, not at all. And Somewhere in the Night, also with Batdorf and Rodney, cracked the top 100. Pretty high. I mean, fairly well into the top 100 as well. So those are two pretty big commercial successes, and they happened one right after another, didn't they?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we had some commercial success with the song "You Are a Song," which was on the third Batdorf and Rodney record. It charted. I think it didn't get real high, but we did chart. But then we had Somewhere in the Night came out, which was supposed to be on the fourth Batdorf and Rodney album. And the fact that we never got to that fourth album, it only exists in single form.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes, and right after that, I formed Silver, and we did the Wham Bam. So we were kind of on a roll there. It was pretty great.
That's awesome, and that would be that's quite the success to hang your hat on. But what I was really excited about talking about today was your newer stuff. So when I found out about this interview, I immediately went on Spotify and found some of your newer stuff, which I was there is a ton of. By the way, you have it seems like you've released 10 albums in the last 10 years.
It might have been the last 2 years.
Yeah, and they're all honestly, they're all phenomenal. I really enjoyed all of them. A personal favorite of mine, just because I as well am a huge fan of The Twilight Zone, is Next Stop Willoughby.
Oh, thanks.
And the song Willoughby, which I think is fantastic. So you were a big Twilight Zone fan growing up?
Yeah, I was a big Twilight Zone fan growing up. I watched it. Gosh, I must have been 9 or 10 years old at the time, and the television in that era was so effective, even though it was low budget stuff, and that episode about Next Stop Willoughby stuck with me forever, and it came back when my wife and I left Southern California and found this beautiful place in Central Oregon, and the story is about a guy who goes on a train and finds this beautiful place that he wants to be the rest of his life, and we were driving around this area and found this beautiful place called Eagle Crest. And we looked around and we thought, my gosh, this is Willoughby. We found Willoughby. and so I started writing that song, and it's just about the Twilight Zone episode and how we ended up finding our Willoughby in our life. And it was fun to write. I love writing so much. I love recording. I love recording new stuff, and that song just became kind of a staple. We made a little video of it here at Eagle Crest to show what a beautiful place it was. And
yeah, I was just going to ask if the music video, which you can find on YouTube under John Batdorf, I was wondering if the music video was filmed in Eagle Crest.
It was.
Yeah, it's a beautiful video. There's tons of great footage, and there's also, you start with the family watching The Twilight Zone, which is really nice.
That reminded me a lot of our family sitting around that old black and white TV watching The Twilight Zone.
Yeah, that's great. So, how do you said that you love writing and you love recording, which is very clear because you're still doing it at such a high level and frequency. You're if you look at the catalog and the fact that people it takes a lot to put out that many new albums in a relatively short period of time, and that you're a very prolific songwriter. It doesn't seem like you have any lack of something to say. You know what I mean? It's all of your songs have perspective, and there's a lot of humor in them and sadness, and you're just such a prolific songwriter. When did you realize that you had that talent, and when did you kind of fall in love with the art of songwriting?
Well, I kind of was surrounded by it when I was a youth. I took my first guitar lesson when I was 5. My father played guitar, my mother played piano, my grandfather played saxophone, and my other grandparents played these tenor Martin guitars. So I was always around music, but it was probably, and I started, my first band was I was in 4th grade. And the thing that really set me off is, because my father was a country musician, and probably in his perfect scenario, I would become a country artist, which never was going to be in my DNA. I can't sing that low.
Yeah.
And so when I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan in '64, that just was so inspirational to me, and I thought, gosh, I want to do this. this is music that touches me, and I want to become, kind of like this. And so that's when I was 12, and I continued to start writing songs that weren't really great songs, but I started writing from about 15 on, and which some of the songs that I wrote between 15 and 18 were on the first Batdorf and Rodney record. So it's just kind of always been there. And even when I wasn't making records, I was, doing TV scoring, which is just another way to write melodies that help make a scene work. So it's always kind of been in there. It's always been in there. And I hope it stays for at least a little while longer.
I don't see you slowing down anytime soon. So how did you get into TV and film composing?
It was just a thing that I know I think it was around 1985 when I was kind of a studio singer at the time. The record business had changed and new wave was out and punk music was out, and this new technology came out called MIDI, and it was all about synthesizers being able to record and play multiple parts, and that intrigued me so much. I always loved violin, so I was always a big Beatles, George Martin, like Eleanor Rigby. I mean, just those strings and stuff always really got to. I thought, well, I can kind of synthesize this. So I didn't know at the time, but I was prepping myself for my big chance in 1997 or 6 when I got a call that there was an open kind of casting for a composer for a new spinoff of Touched by an Angel, which was Promised Land with Gerald McCraney. And so I had done a lot of scoring for commercials and other kind of musical events. And so this was my really big chance. And I worked the whole summer trying to get that gig. And eventually I got the gig and was kind of in over my head the first season. Because I'd never worked with deadlines like we had there. I mean, it was like, okay, we need, 15 minutes of full orchestra score in 3.5 days.
Absolutely. And writing for something and for somebody instead of just writing, what comes naturally to you is a completely different skill set.
Totally different gig. The thing was interesting about it, and a composer said this once in an interview, because what you do is you get a scene, maybe 30 seconds or up to 5 minutes, and the producer says, "Well, I need you to make this scene pull. You need to keep it rolling." Because if you ever watch TV shows or movies without music,
it's if it's not used specifically as a device, then it's very awkward.
Yes. So the thing is you're looking at this film and you think, what do you play here? What works here? And then all of a sudden, something clicks. It's like getting a song idea. And you start and you have no idea where you're going because you're not writing lyrics. You don't have to make sense musically as far as meter-wise. You're just trying to go through the scene and make the people feel a little more emotion from what's going on with the dialogue and the acting without getting in the way. And it was a tough thing to learn, but I really enjoyed. I was doing it almost 7 years, so it was great.
That's awesome. What was your now? Did you find a similar joy in the film and TV composing to compared to writing your own music? Like, was it because it's a different, as we just said, it's a different skill set and it's it's problem solving, and then also the same creative muscle. But is it, was it more enjoyable, less enjoyable? I obviously, I don't think it was more enjoyable than writing your own things. But was it, did you find a similar joy in the completion of the songs and the process?
Well, yeah. What I really enjoyed, I mean, it was not fun. It was a total. I've never been at a job where you just grind. You're up at 6 a.m. and you work till 10 at night. And sometimes I can get up at 4 a.m. to make sure I got the cue written. And my thing was I never wanted to not finish a cue. And so sometimes I'd have 9, 10 cues, and they were all different times. And sometimes I'd have 20. And I never did miss a cue. The joy was that, here you have this film, it's 3 days before it's on the air, and you finish it and you hear it in the show, and it was probably the best work ethic I had ever experienced, because
yeah,
I never had to work like that. And then I found out that I could, and that has carried on to now that I'm making records again, because I use that same work ethic. I'm up really early in the morning. I review from the day before. So it really taught me a lot. And plus, I never made money like that before.
Right.
And it was funny because it wasn't like it was a featured thing. It was a little bit confusing to me, because you make a lot of money on music that some people don't even notice is in the scene.
Right.
It's very weird. But it was good. It taught me a lesson that if you just keep working, you'll figure it out.
Absolutely. And I can tell that work ethic has continued on by the sheer amount of work that you've put out in the recent years. One of my other, which again I cannot specify enough, what is your website? How can people contact you and find all of this?
It's johnbatdorfmusic.com, JohnBatdorf.com, music.com. And I also have another project I don't know if you had a chance to check out, was the Soundtracks to Recovery project.
Oh, no.
And if you go on my website, and on the opening page, you'll see a little thing that says torecovery.org. And it's a project I did with my buddy Michael McLean. And it was all inspired by one of my sons who became an addict when he was 18. And the way that I was able to finally break through communications-wise with him was through a song called "I Don't Always Win." And it was our first moment after years of turmoil that we were able to communicate. And so Michael and myself decided to make an album. First, we're going to call it 12 Songs for 12 Steps. And it's just positive music for people, and it has nothing to do. I mean, if you hear it, you wouldn't even know what it was about,
right,
unless you're in a situation where you've been in that dilemma before.
Yeah.
So we made this record, and we decided that we needed more songs. So we ended up with 17 songs on this album, and now we go out and we play as speakers at recovery conferences, which is very rewarding. And so it's a thing I'd like you to check out. I'm really glad I did it.
Well, I'm definitely going to check that out. That sounds amazing, and such a wonderful, a beautiful story behind it, and a wonderful thing to do, wonderful work to be doing, and such a benefit and help to people and comfort. That was really inspiring. That's a really inspiring story.
Well, thanks. Well, we just, originally it was mainly about addiction, but then as we were making the record, we realized that, everyone's recovering from something in their life, and music is a powerful healer, and that's what that record's all about. And again, I'm really glad that I did it, because there's nothing quite like being in a room playing for people that know exactly what you're talking about. It's a powerful moment.
Absolutely. Wow, that is cool. I love one of my favorite parts about doing this podcast is usually about 15 minutes in, which is exactly when that story came. Something comes out that I don't know, on the good episodes, and this one's a great one. Something comes out that I did not know about beforehand, and is just such an inspiring story. And that was definitely, that's definitely in the running for one of the best things that's ever been talked about on this show. So thank you very much for that. And
sure, man.
And I can't wait I'm going to put a link to that in the description of the episode so that everybody can check it out easily.
Great.
Which is just fantastic. And that's a big issue here in Westerly.
It's a big thing all over the world, man.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely
unbelievable.
So I'm definitely gonna help spread that message. Going back on a lighter note, one of your songs that I watched the video of today, and I had heard it beforehand a week ago, and I loved it, and I couldn't get it out of my head. So and then I found the music video this morning, and it was even better. Seeing you do it in front of a live crowd, They Can't Have Everything.
Yeah, that was one of those days I woke up and I was just kind of ticked off at everything, and you know that's what writers want. They want to have a subject that they're passionate about, and then kind of turn it around where it's kind of funny, because you don't want people to get so caught up in it. But if you make a little twist on it and make it funny at the end, that's what music's all about. You get the message across without getting people angry or getting people too sad. But man, that's how I felt that day, and I still feel like that today.
Yeah, completely understandable. And I loved the but it's great though. You have the very serious, it's a serious subjects are covered in the song, and then you have the build up, and then the swerve. The swerve into the chorus, and it's great. It adds humor to something that's not very humorous.
Yeah, it's not very funny at all.
No, and the video, I love the video with the live performance. Again,
oh, it's great.
Yeah. So, is there anything? Obviously, July 30th, 6 p.m. You're going to be playing Tunes on the Dunes on the beach with Allison Flower. How do you know Allison?
I don't know Allison.
Okay.
That was put together by the actual concert promoter. So I'm looking forward to hearing her, and I do want to just, if we have a second, just talk about.
Oh, we have as much time as you want.
Yeah, how I ended up getting the gig.
Yeah.
The song Wham Bam Shang Lang, which was a big hit in 1976, suddenly appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 last year. And that movie became so big, and there was I couldn't believe it was actually in the movie. And there was a YouTube page just for Wham Bam Shang Lang, and had nearly 8 million views before they took it down. And so the reason I got the gig Tunes on the Dunes was because the booker heard the song on XM radio and said, "Gosh, I want to." I did some research, and I want to have that guy play here at Tunes on the Dunes.
Yeah.
And he had no idea about anything else I'd ever done in my life. But it was a great thing. Is that by being in another medium, it reached out to someone who had no idea what I'd ever done. And now I'm playing there, which is great. That's what it's all about, man. So it was.
Wow.
We want to thank Marvel for putting that in the movie, because it was a great, great thing.
Absolutely. And Guardians of the Galaxy, there's such a music is such a big part of that series.
Huge.
Because Chris Pratt's character has the mixtape, the mixed cassette tape from his mom on Earth, and everybody was raving about the soundtracks, for those movies. So it is really cool to be a part of the soundtrack of that movie, and I think it's very fitting. Wham Bam definitely fits in that, and
Yeah.
and you definitely deserve that recognition and success, and it's kind of ironic because the last the last big musician that I had the opportunity to speak to on this podcast was, as I said earlier, was Joey Mullen, who they had a similar resurgence after Baby Blue was used in the ending of Breaking Bad.
Oh, that's great.
And then they, so it's great, and I encourage people who make movies to continue using all of these songs, because it's fantastic, and it gives a great it shares spreads attention to some really great artists who are still doing really great things, especially
True.
you, because I cannot believe all of the the sheer amount of new music and the quality of the new music is better than ever.
Well, thank you.
For you. There isn't a single song that I listened to that I didn't love.
There you go. That's great.
Which was great. Do you have like a favorite song you've ever written, or one that means a lot to you?
Well, I would think that back the song that really made kind of Batdorf and Rodney be on the map was a song called "Home Again." It was on the second Batdorf and Rodney album. That just kind of exploded on FM radio back then. So that's kind of one of my favorites because so many people recognize it. Another one has to be the song that was the inspiration to Tom Tech's Recovery, which is "I Don't Know When," which is just a powerful, powerful song. I love the Willoughby thing because these songs are all about life.
Yeah.
And as you write them, you're just kind of writing about what's happening to you in your life. And "Home Again" was kind of the beginning of the trip. And then we, flash forward, 35, 40 years later, and, I have a son who's in trouble, and music again becomes the powerful tool that helps get through that moment. And then when my wife and I were looking for a place to live, and we've been married now 45 years, and when we found this place, Willoughby was that thing that. So you're just kind of writing about your life and those moments, and those are three that I really like them all. It's like, who's your favorite kid?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a horrible question to ask such a prolific songwriter. And I want to say that it's wonderful that your Willoughby really existed.
It really is.
Because obviously that Twilight Zone, like most Twilight Zones, has a very sad, sort of creepy, scary ending. But
it was pretty creepy.
Yeah, but your Willoughby was real, and it's well deserved. And you've done a lot of great work. I love the story about the work for addiction, and the songs for recovery, and just you have a tremendous catalog. I can't recommend it enough. Silver, Batdorf and Rodney, all of your solo stuff that's on Spotify and iTunes and all of that, and johnbatdorfmusic.com is your website, which will be in the description of this episode, and I cannot recommend people check out your music enough. And July 30th, 6 p.m. on Tunes on the Dunes with Allison Flower. Is there anything else you wanna add or end with?
Well, just that I'm really, really happy at my age, which I'm 66 now. It's never in my wildest dreams would I ever thought that I'd still be playing guitar and singing in front of an audience at 66.
I don't want
to.
I never want to bring up a guest's age unless they want to. How do you? Because the music that you've recorded this year sounds the same. How at 66 you have such a recognizable tenor. How have you been able to keep your voice so pristine over the years?
Well, I think that one thing is that I really recognize and appreciate the fact that I had a gift to sing. And it was very natural to me my whole life to be able to just sing. And when I got into doing studio singing, I found out about this. I was going to see a couple of voice teachers because I wanted to learn how to be better. I've always tried to be better. And I went to one guy who was one of the top guys in LA, and he says, "Let me hear you sing." So I sang this thing, and he goes, I thought I did really have a nice job. And the guy goes, "Well, you do everything wrong. There's no amount of work I could ever work with you on that would ever correct all the problems you have in your singing." And I thought, wow, man, this is kind of a cold way to meet a guy that.
Yeah.
So then I was really kind of feeling bad. I thought, well, God, maybe he's right. So I went to another guy. His name was Robert Edwards, and he worked with a lot of singers, including Keb Mo, who was a great singer. And so he had me sing for him, and he goes, all I want to do is help you protect what you have, because I don't want to change anything. So I learned how to warm up and warm down, and I'm, I know that I have to sleep. I know when I'm on the road, I have to sleep in order to keep my voice. So it's really just another discipline thing, that you have to take care of what you have. Otherwise, you're going to lose it. Like so many great singers that I loved when I was a kid, they just don't sing anymore. And you think, God, what happened? I don't understand it. And it's sad for me to lose a gift like that. So I've been lucky enough to still be able to hit the high notes. I'm in the same keys that I've written everything in from the very beginning. So,
yeah. Wow.
And my inspiration is Paul McCartney. I mean, my God.
Yeah, absolutely. Who definitely is somebody who takes care of himself as well and is very well disciplined. Thank you so much. This has been a tremendous interview. I hope that you enjoyed it.
Thank you. And I want to shout out to Caswell Cook, who actually put this whole thing together. And I'm so glad that he called me and booked me on this show, because I'm really looking forward to it. And just keep moving on. Straight ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on July 30th.
Hey, thanks, man. I really appreciate the time.
For more information on the events and businesses in Mesquamaket Beach, make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and at mesquamaket.org.